$93,269. Outstanding work, everybody. Very nice job. I just wanted to kick it off on a Friday and thank you for your generosity yesterday as we hosted our annual Children's Miracle Network Miracle Day of Hope Radiothon, raising money for kids here in Kansas City. And John, we knocked it out of the park. Well, the audience knocked it out of the park.
Well, and unlike the Jackson County Legislature, we know exactly how the money's going to be spent, right?
Oh, that's so true, man.
Everybody deserves a nice, warm, early 6 o'clock. Woo!
Yeah, way to go there, Mark.
Nice.
Way to go. Make sure those hotkeys are up, too, so my drops are working. They're not working right now, Mark. Get those hotkeys up. No, there you go. My buttons aren't working here. I don't know why. All right, let me get one more. All right, there you go. Give me one more from you, Mark. Can you give me one more Ric Flair on the way out?
Woo!
That's
Bravo,
pretty good. Man, you do it better than Ric Flair does these days. He does not sound good. God bless the man, but you hear him, he's like, hoo, hoo, hoo. He's like a little monkey. Guy sounds like he's climaxing when he's doing it these days. It's like, brother, come on. Just I know you can't hit the high notes like Mark did just there, but it's not sounding good when Ric Flair does it himself. Either way, well done by this audience. You guys crushed it. I now have to go through the list and find our top 10 donors over $500, and I will be in touch on the Bill O'Reilly signed copy of Confronting the President. So last year, we did this with Bill's, I think it was the Killing the Witches book we did it with last year. And we raised a lot more money this year. So that's a testament to you and your generosity. And listen, I think people are feeling good going into 2025, and I'll explain more of that coming up here in a few minutes. But how about that? The same day we had our big fundraiser, what else was going on in town? Well, Taylor Swift was helping the kids. I should have had her stop by the studios yesterday. So Taylor Swift surprised kids right here in Kansas City at Children's Mercy Hospital. She was on the oncology floor, hematology floor as well, and she spent about an hour meeting kids and fans. She sang and with patients, sang to patients, sang with patients, took a lot of selfies. And listen, I know that we have goofed on Taylor Swift because of her awful political endorsement that thankfully nobody listened to, but I do genuinely believe that she is a good, decent person. I don't think she understands some of the major issues the country's facing, but when you're a billionaire, you're not going to understand why people are upset about the price of eggs and milk. I can understand being out of touch. But I do genuinely believe, because this is not the first time she's done something like this, that she shows up in Kansas City. Today is her birthday, I will add. She turns 35 years old. So I've got her by about a year and a half or so, but she turns 35 today, and she's here in town, obviously hanging out with Travis, I would imagine. Her tour wrapped up last week, and she stops by Children's Mercy Hospital, and here's some of the reporting from KCTV5 on how that went.
Taylor met with Bailey. Her mom called it the most coolest, unexpected surprise ever. And with like a 2-minute warning, Melissa Nunez posted on Facebook that Bailey and Taylor, they even exchanged gifts. Taylor gave Bailey a signed copy of her Eras Tour book. And then in return, Bailey gifted the superstar with a diamond art picture. And we also spoke with Riley over Zoom this afternoon, who's at Children's Mercy for some bone cancer treatment. His mom got to talk to Taylor on FaceTime, too.
Definitely a shock, because the most they've done for like people that I've seen was like the KC Wolf. So it was like definitely kind of cool. She's now the most famous person I've met.
It's one of our core memories now. Like, we'll remember it for our lifetime.
Well, no offense to KC Wolf. This is a big upgrade. All right. I mean, KC Wolf's great and all, but I'll take Taylor Swift every single day, twice on Sunday over KC Wolf.
A little bit of a gap. But,
yeah. And I thought it was, I don't know if you want to call it cute or funny, whatever, when the kid's like, yeah, this is the most famous person I've met. Hey, brother, I don't think it could get more famous than Taylor Swift. Like, genuinely asking, who is more famous right now than Taylor Swift? Donald Trump. That's the only name I could think of as someone who is more famous than Taylor Swift. Like, on the entire planet. Maybe Putin, who's obviously a horrible figure. But I'm like, Taylor Swift, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin. Then I was thinking about Zelensky, Obama, Joe Biden. I mean, that's probably
Not
the
everybody
top five.
follows what we do here.
No,
right?
I know.
No, what I'm saying to your point is that she's bigger than them.
Yeah.
Because it covers a broader spectrum.
I would agree.
Those of us that are into this understand what you're saying. But,
that's
a
where
little
it's
bit
like.
minutia. It's like the sports fans know who Travis Kelce was. Now he's somebody else.
Yeah, now he's a cultural figure, obviously.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Trump, Obama, and then maybe Biden just because he's currently the president in terms of people who are more famous than Taylor Swift. But it's funny. This kid was like, yeah, I think she's the most famous person I met. Dude, she's like the fourth most famous person on the planet right now. So you're doing fine.
Yeah.
Nice job by you. Nice job by you, young man. And nice job by Taylor as well. Showing up. And, listen, you give kids a memory and their parents a memory that they will never forget. And it cost you nothing other than an hour of your time. And when you get to that level of fame, there's very few things I imagine, and I've just heard this in passing from some people who are very famous, not Taylor Swift famous, but like a Bill O'Reilly, right? There's not many things when it comes to money, people you meet, things you do that are going to give you that feeling of adrenaline. It's going to make you feel something inside because you've done it all. In her case, you're singing in front of 50,000 fans every night. Bill O'Reilly spent time in front of 5 to 6 million people every night on television. You've got all the money you could possibly need. What are the things you do in your life that make you feel good? It's not going to be a check in the mail. You've gotten plenty of those that are enormous. It's not going to be meeting somebody else famous. I mean, you're more famous than basically everybody you meet. But when you are putting a smile on somebody's face, somebody who is fighting for their lives at a children's hospital, their parents who have been through hell and back potentially, those are the things that I would imagine when you get to that level of fame and fortune actually make you feel something. Actually give you some kind of purpose in a way a big old check in the mail won't and can't anymore. That brand new car, forget it. That doesn't do it anymore. Meeting somebody else that's famous, been there, done that. This is the kind of stuff that I believe moves the needle for him. And I'm glad that it does for Taylor.
Yeah, I think there are people like her, and I'll say Keanu Reeves, that use real life to be grounded.
Yeah.
You know, they don't just cut themselves off and then parade on through like maybe an Oprah. I'm here. Thank you. Hello. Goodbye.
Yes.
No, I think that Taylor Swift, she feels like she generates the impression she's a genuine human being. And you come off of the road where everybody's waiting on you hand and foot. And granted, she busted her ass. She worked hard. But you come off of the road, and now it's back into real life here where you're like, these poor kids, you know, are going through situations. And it keeps herself grounded. I mean, Keanu Reeves has a reputation like that of just being out on the streets with people, helping people out, you know?
Yeah. Even I saw Taylor after the Raiders game. There was a viral video of her talking to the guys who were cleaning the stadium.
Yeah.
You know, as she was kind of waiting around for Travis. And, it's a good moment. And for all the goofing we do on her about the political stuff, I'm glad she's part of Chiefs Kingdom. I'm glad she's here. I'm glad she's helping out the kids. And you can't knock her for that. You can't take that away from her. So good on you, Taylor. Very nice job.
She's a real beauty.
6:14. Well, did you see what happened with Trump yesterday? We couldn't get to it since we were doing our fundraiser for Children's Miracle Network. But the guy rang the opening bell, first president to do it since Ronald Reagan. And I'm telling you what, there was something that was said yesterday by someone who was going to be very high up in Donald Trump's administration, who absolutely nailed what I think these next 4 years are going to be about. I will share it with you next on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. To see Trump yesterday, he was on the floor of the stock exchange, the first president to be there to ring the opening bell since Ronald Reagan, and it was quite a scene.
The incoming leader of the free world is going to ring the bell here in about 20 seconds, an historic moment at the New York Stock Exchange as we get this opening bell rung by the president-elect, Donald Trump.
USA! USA! What a scene. And what a comeback. There's no doubt we see the donations. Many of the big Wall Street titans still end up donating to Democrats. I won't ever understand why, but they do. It might just be because those are the circles that they run in. As the country club Republican, as it's been called, continues to fall by the wayside, and the Republican Party continues to become the party of the working class. And the Democratic Party continues to be the party and become the party of elite bubbles in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. But what you are seeing as well is the regular guys, the guys who are still on the floor of the stock exchange. And it's not like it used to be a generation or two ago when there's guys running around with paper tickets and the whole thing. It's kind of more or less become a television set for CNBC. But it still makes a difference. It still matters when you hear regular dudes on the floor of the stock exchange chanting, USA, USA. It's a great moment for Trump. It's a great moment for American business. But as his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, told CNBC yesterday, this is not a campaign. This is not a presidency that's going to be all about Wall Street. It's not. Because two things can be true at the same time.
What do you want to tell the Americans? What do you want to tell the nation about investing right now?
Well, look, I think what we're going to see from President Trump is Wall Street can win and Main Street can win. Just like we're getting Trump 1.0.
All right.
Everybody can do great.
Fair enough. And
Wall Street can win and Main Street can win. One of the big arguments Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made, more so Biden before he got the boot, over the last 4 years was, wow, look at the stock market. Wow, I'm just doing great. Things are awesome. Oh, gosh, when I got in, the market was just barely recovering from COVID. And, oh, gosh, really, things were just taking off. And when Biden took office, the Dow was about 30,000, give or take. And you look at it now, it's about 43, 44,000. So in the last 4 years, if you've been invested in just good, ETFs, mutual funds, whatever, you're probably up 40 to 50%. That's great. But here's the thing. Main Street was not feeling that success. And the other thing that it's believed the Biden administration did was basically borrow a lot of future gains by printing money, blowing out the debt, and people saying, well, the only place I can really make money right now to try to beat inflation is the stock market. So there is a belief that the stock market might be a little too frothy right now. The price of stocks might be a little high. What that means for next year, I don't know. There's fears of a recession, but there have been fears of a recession for the last 3 years. And while things have slowed down, the economy is not as hunky-dory as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were trying to make it out to be. We have not hit full-blown recession status by any stretch of the imagination. It's just kind of slogging along and moving along. But the notion that, well, stock market's doing great. It's why a president should never, and Trump did this sometimes too, he'd brag about the stock market. It's okay to brag about the stock market when Main Street is also doing well. Nobody wants to hear about the stock market when people feel like they can't afford groceries. That was an approach that Joe Biden will look back on and realize, well, that was a colossal mistake. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear about the Dow or the S&P and the NASDAQ and different stocks when they feel like they can't afford the basic necessities and credit card debts are going to the moon. And that was a massive error. Trust us, the economy is better than you think it is. You're too dumb to realize the economy is in a better place than you realize it is. That was always a bad strategy.
Yeah, well, we went traveling over the holidays, right?
Yeah. A lot of people.
Story?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, record number of travelers. Okay, how are they paying for it?
And you all was worried about the price of eggs. Wasn't that the
yes.
post
from? Oh, yeah. I saw plenty of that on Facebook. Yeah. Oh, everyone's going somewhere for the holidays, and you guys said it was all about the price of eggs. Okay, well, many people are not going to forego seeing family because of money. It's sad, but a lot of people might have gotten into credit card debt to get on that plane and go see family for the holidays. I'm not judging you on that. I'm just saying there are people who definitely did that and are doing that in the next couple of weeks. Have you seen the cost of airline tickets? They're not exactly cheap. They're not awful, but they're not cheap. So the important line there from Scott Bessent is both Main Street and Wall Street can win. You can have an environment where you try to bring the costs down through deregulation, strong energy policy, a robust free market, which will help Main Street, help people with everyday prices. And guess what? That will help Wall Street. And you heard CNBC and their panel, which does not love Donald Trump. There's one guy on that panel who loves Donald Trump, or even kind of likes Donald Trump, and it's Joe Kernan. The rest of them lean left. But even they couldn't deny yesterday what they saw on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange was pretty darn impressive.
A nice showing, geographically easy for them to get here.
And just optically, Jim, sort of a show of force of American business.
No, I mean, this is, I have to tell you, I'm trying to remember when I've seen such an agglomeration of people.
Never.
No.
I don't think we've ever seen this.
No, and these are people, by the way, all walks of business. This is not tech and it's not financial. I mean, what, Brian Cornell from Target.
Even the Target CEO showed up. Hopefully he's not printing those tuck-friendly swimsuits anymore. Maybe he learned his lesson over there at Target. I don't know. But the CEO of Target, whose stock needs some help, yesterday on the floor where Donald Trump was ringing the opening bell. You had the CEOs of Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, Citigroup, Jane Fraser, Brian Cornell, Target, who you just heard, Bill Ackman, big hedge fund guy, Hans Vestberg, CEO of Verizon. Different industry, all there for Donald Trump to ring the opening bell. This was a guy who nearly 40 years ago, these people would not have spoken to or admitted to being in the same room with. In the wake of how the 2020 election went down, the mistakes that were made in the wake of it, obviously all the January 6th drama and nonsense, these people would not have admitted to speaking to Donald Trump on the phone. Nearly 4 years later, they are on the floor of the New York City Stock Exchange. They are shaking his hand. They want to be in his presence. It is an incredible American comeback story. And I'm hoping that for America, the comeback story over the next 4 years is even better than Donald Trump's comeback story is. Because that ultimately is what matters. His comeback story, without the comeback story of the American people, frankly, means nothing. The American people now need to have their own comeback story. And I'm hopeful that that can happen, and it all will start in just over 30 days from now. 913-408-7957 as we get set for the news at the bottom of the hour. Really disturbing story on how people are using, I think, a disturbing website. We'll talk about it next on KCMO. I wanted to get this story in. I know it got a lot of attention the last 24 hours or so with clips coming out and things of that nature. But I also know it may not be the best conversation to have when the kids might be in the car. And I'm going to make it as family-friendly as I possibly can here because I don't want you to have to change the radio dial if you have kids in the car at 6:34 on a Friday morning. But if you haven't heard the name Lily Phillips, well, just do a quick Google search, maybe on your phone, not on the work computer. Now, I did it on my work computer because this is work-related. Mark, don't start typing away in there. I'm just giving you forewarning. So I'm telling the bosses right now, I'm reading this story from People magazine about Lily Phillips. There's no clicking on Google Images or anything like that. This is simply a work-related story because it's one of the most viral stories of the week. Lily Phillips is an OnlyFans star. I use that term loosely. Who documented sleeping with over 100 men in a single day in a new documentary and has plans for a larger goal in the weeks ahead. So she did this documentary titled, I Slept with 100 Men in One Day. And she talked about how she slept with all these men to create not safe for work content for her subscription-based social media page. So OnlyFans, as I understand it, as someone who, thank goodness, has not had to go anywhere near it and has no interest in going anywhere near it, is a website where you can pay some kind of a monthly fee and it's tiered to have access to and potentially online relationships with women. Maybe it's available for women to men too. I don't know. Do either of you guys have an OnlyFans side hustle that I'm not aware of?
No.
Okay.
It started as a general thing, obviously guided to special interests, if you will.
Yes.
And primarily has become more of maybe, I guess, a sexual outlet, if you.
Yes, it's basically paying for porn. That's basically what it is. Mark, what do you got for me?
Oh, I think it can go either way. I think there can be male content creators or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
It's either or.
Well, that's what we are now. Like, they don't call us radio hosts. They call us content creators, influencers, whatever word you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in the same bucket. We're just doing different things.
Yeah.
Very different things in this case. So the documentary came out here in the last couple of days, and it's actually really sad. Some of the clips started popping up on social media yesterday, and you can hear Lily Phillips start to cry as she talks about this horrific experience where she slept with 100 guys in a single day.
I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by the 30th, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're going to do this. And like, it just, sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, like it's not like normal at all. In my head right now, I can think of like 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember, and that's it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like, if I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I've done 100,
Basically, she blacked out. That's what she's saying. She says she did this, she slept with 100 guys in a day, and basically blacked out for most of it. What are we doing? And how did we get to the point where these things are rewarded? It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen because of one single person or one single event. But promiscuity obviously has always been rewarded to some degree in our culture, but this is next level. This is somebody who is pursuing incredible fame and fortune by doing things of this nature. And here's the thing. A lot of people are going to say, well, it's consensual. So who are you to say this is wrong or bad of her? I mean, she's an adult. It's consensual. Everybody's in on it. Everybody, I guess, is getting tested as far as I read. So no harm, no foul. Yeah, but this person is now a viral sensation. She is getting rewarded for this monetarily, with fame as well. That will lead to more fortune. What does that say about our culture? What does that mean for us going forward? At 913-408-7957. Those are the things that I think we need to talk about. The small conversation here, the micro conversation is, wow, that's gross, that's horrific, that's terrible. But the bigger conversation is, how did we get here and how do we get out of it? I've seen two of these videos on social media here as of late where there's other OnlyFans stars going viral, and they're claiming that they're Christians and they're very religious and this is just a job for them and they're going to repent and they're going to get all, what they need to out of their God when the time comes and he'll forgive them and everything else. And I wonder how much of even that is being planted by OnlyFans to try to build a new audience, to try to basically convince people that it is okay, it is acceptable to be on our platforms, whether you're a consumer or whether you are a producer of content. Either way, it's A-okay. You are going to be just fine. Don't you worry about it. Come on board. And I don't buy it. And I don't think a lot of you buy it, but I'll tell you right now, there was one OnlyFans star who bragged the other day about making $43 million last year. That is twice what Travis Kelce made, more than twice what Travis Kelce made on the football field, at least last year. I mean, these are astronomical sums of money. And sex always sells. It always has. It always will. It's now just taking on a different angle when you talk about the internet and the way that we are connected. But since the beginning of time, sex has always sold. But now we're getting to the point where it's not even about, well, sex selling and there being some shame around it, right? There used to be shame around it. Now there is no shame. Forget the shame. Now you brag about it. Now you make documentaries about it. Remember the walk of shame that people used to talk about in college? Forget the walk of shame. The walk of shame had value to it because it meant that you were not proud of things that you may have done. That was the purpose of calling something the walk of shame. Now it's like, no, I'm going to brag about it on social media and someone's going to make a documentary on it. Like that is not the place you want to be. And that's where it feels like things have gotten worse in large part. 913-408-7957 on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So I just want to get your input here on the text line as well. And I'm rolling through some of your texts here. Pete, I heard about this girl, and it says her next goal is supposedly 1,000 guys. Well, I saw that as well. I guess she's going to be, and this, I mean, it just makes my stomach churn to even say it. But I guess she's going to be, in her words, taking on 300 men here in a couple of days. The world record, I'm reading this from People magazine. The world record is 919 partners in a day. And it's held by Lisa Sparks, who did this at a sex industry event in Poland back in 2004. How is that possible? I've got to do the math on that real quick. So 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes, that's 1,440 minutes in a day. Divide that by 919, that's a guy every minute and a half.
In 5 years, this girl's going to need a lot of therapy. She's going to regret this, and I feel a little bad for her.
I feel awful for her. I have nothing but sympathy for her, Lily Phillips. It's really a tragedy. This whole story is tragic. There's nothing to celebrate about it. You can pray for her if that's your thing. For her family, imagine being her parents. Part of you wonders where you went wrong. Did you go wrong somewhere? What did you screw up? What is going on with her? This is a tragedy. But it's a tragedy that is largely being celebrated by certain people and certain corners of the internet. And that is as disturbing as anything else. 913-408-7957. Oh, my gosh. It's all about attention. That's also on the text line. Yeah. Pete, do you even get a kiss? I don't know. Come on. What are you doing on the text line? I don't know.
And you wanted one?
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you.
He's a troubled guy.
Yeah, come on now. What are you doing? Unbelievable. Ugh. Kendall Gammon is going to be here at 7:05 on KCMO Talk Radio. Pete, Kim Kardashian turned a sex tape into a $1 billion industry. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, listen, Kim Kardashian is kind of the OG of that whole deal, right? And some allege the family was in on that, releasing that and letting it bring fame and fortune to the family. There are plenty of allegations. I don't know if the full story is ever going to be known on how that tape got out, but you're right. But that was one tape with one guy that at least there was a relationship with. That's not what this is. This is completely different. Even Kim Kardashian is like, yeah, that's pretty gross. Oh, Kendall Gammon, top of the hour on KCMO. Back here in Kansas City, finally hitting some people with some hard prison sentences. We'll tell you who and why coming up on 95.7 FM. Joel Olivas and Brian Favela, 24 and 23 years old, respectively, are heading to prison 18-year sentences. These are two men accused of sparking a flurry of gang-related gunfire down at Crown Center last January. It left multiple people injured, patrons scrambled for cover, and it happened at, 5 o'clock at night. So these guys were sentenced yesterday, and Jackson County Circuit Court found guilty of felony counts of unlawful use of a weapon and armed criminal action, as well as misdemeanor counts of second-degree harassment. Both men waived their right to a jury trial, and a judge heard this case in a bench trial that concluded on November 1st. So you may not remember this story. Maybe you're new to the show, but it was January 17th last year at Crown Center when more than 50 shots were fired and 6 people are injured, including 3 innocent bystanders who had no association with the shooting. They said at least 20 people, including a father and a toddler, were caught in the path of the gunfire, but were not hit in the shooting, which police linked to a feud between gangs. During the sentencing hearing, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Dion Sanker said that the 2 men who were armed chose to escalate a confrontation with 3 men who had links to rival gangs. Why are they walking through Crown Center at like 5 o'clock on a weeknight? When you're a gang member, aren't you like a tough guy supposed to be roaming the streets and defending your turf? What are you doing going through Crown Center? You trying to buy a purse or something? What is there for you? Yeah, I got to stop by here real quick. What's that all about? And then you've got all these innocent people who end up getting caught in literal gunfire, including parents with their little kids, a father with a toddler. You had a woman who was shot who was at Crown Center on a double date that night. Now, thankfully, nobody died, but still, that's traumatic stuff that will stay with people forever. And these 2 guys, courtesy of the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, will be going to prison for an 18-year sentence. So I will give credit where it's due to Jean Peters Baker and her team at the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. I'm not saying they're good at what they do, but even a blind squirrel finds the nut once in a while, John.
Well, I was a little concerned as I read my version of the story, and it suggested that there was a request to not make it more than 25 years.
Oh, the Star does not have that in its piece.
Oh.
I didn't see that.
Well,
Convenience.
let me find that then.
Please.
Because
please.
I thought, what are we doing?
Who cares what they want?
Let's go into a case and say, hey, okay, if you're going to punish them, but just don't.
Yeah,
No.
I did not see that.
Let me find that. All right,
Please.
I'll get back to you here.
The Star conveniently left that out of its piece. You know, the Star was really trying to pump up Jean Peters Baker and the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. They've been basically doing her bidding since she got in there. Here was the headline at the Star. Men convicted in gang-related shooting at KC's Crown Center get lengthy prison sentences. Ah, yes. Pat Jean and her crew on the back. Instead of just saying men convicted in gang-related shooting at Crown Center get 18-year sentences, lengthy prison sentences. That's supposed to make the prosecutor's office look good.
Okay, I've enclosed that article over here on the side.
You got it?
There we go. If it'll slide down.
All right.
I don't know if you want to look at it or you want me to read it.
Well, who's it from? First off.
Oh, this is from Fox 4.
Fox 4, okay. Just read me the line about the 25-year thing, what it says there.
An agreement among the parties capped a prison sentence for the 2 suspects at 25 years, according to the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. Prosecutors in a sentencing memorandum asked the judge to impose the maximum amount due to the devastating nature of the shootings.
Okay. You did that in your news voice there. Very nice job. Right. Yes, well done.
I'm the KCMO newsroom.
Nice work there, John Anthony.
From the desk behind Mark, I'm John Anthony.
The desk behind Mark.
Yeah.
Well, Mark's, he's got all the big buttons right in front of him.
He's up there at the console.
I know. We can't do this without Mark, which is why Mark always takes the heat when the buttons aren't working, whether it's fair or not. But you know what? That's why he cleans up around here.
Blame the driver.
Exactly right. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Well, either way, they got hit with 18-year sentences. And here's the thing. Those are the kind of things that the prosecutor's office under Melissa Johnston, who's coming in next month, needs to do. Scare the people who are involved with shootings, even if they don't end up killing somebody. Scare them to the point where their thug friends are also afraid of committing acts of violence and acting like fools, especially in places where you have large swaths of innocent people. Remember, you had the Super Bowl parade shooting backed up with this Crown Center shooting in the span of basically a month. That was on Valentine's Day at the Super Bowl parade. This was on January 17th. They happened within 30 days of each other. And to me, it was an encapsulation of several years of this prosecutor's office not prosecuting lower-level criminals to the point where they felt like they were bulletproof, no pun intended. And they had no fear of the law. They had no fear of law enforcement. They had no fear of being prosecuted and putting behind bars. That mentality needs to change. And I will ask Quentin Lucas about it at 7:30 this morning. He's going to be here on a Friday because yesterday we had, of course, our annual Radiothon fundraiser. So I will ask him about this and much more coming up here at 7:30 on KCMO. We've got our good friend Kendall Gammon, who is just a few minutes away after the top of the hour. And Missouri Governor Mike Parson is our featured Friday guest in studio at 9:05. We will talk about former KCPD Detective Eric DeValcanaire, what his plans are there, the future for the Chiefs and the Royals, and his legacy as he heads out the door and hands the reins off to Governor-elect Mike Kehoe. So Mike Parson will be in studio for a full half-hour conversation at 9 o'clock today. Now, yesterday I'm going through the mail, and we don't check the mail a lot. It's not something I care to do. Kate does it, but neither of us are really like, I got to check the mail after work kind of a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's generational. I don't have any interest in going to check the mail. So last night I'm moving the cars around. I said, I guess I should go check the mail. And the mailbox is always like stuffed. I'm sure the mailman hates us because we're the people who never check the mail. So he's got to like jam everything in there. So I'm going through the mail, and there's a piece of mail addressed to Claire, our oldest daughter, who just turned 6 years old last week. And it's from a college. She got a piece of mail from Hillsdale College, which, if you're a listener of this show, you may know Hillsdale College. If you're a viewer of Fox News, you may know Hillsdale College. They are one of the few conservative liberal arts colleges in the country. Now, I think there will be more of them popping up in the years ahead, but they're probably the premier conservative liberal arts college in the country. I don't know how they found her. It must be based on some list I'm on, but I don't know how they know who she is. But either way, you've got Hillsdale College recruiting 6-year-old kids of people who they know are conservative. That is quite a recruitment pitch, John.
Well, that might have popped a hole in my theory here at the last second. I was suggesting perhaps all incoming kindergartners got one. But it's a conservative college, so
yes.
You wouldn't think the school district would cooperate with that.
No. There is no way the public school districts are cooperating with Hillsdale College.
I gotcha.
So I don't know, but it was like I posted a photo of her. I just thought it was hilarious. It's on my Instagram stories at Pete Mundo, and it's her holding a pamphlet. And it's not like, hey, come to Hillsdale. It's addressed to her. It literally has her name on it. But it's basically a pamphlet, and it says, populist conservatism and constitutional order. Like, she can't even read.
I'm just laughing at that.
It's not like it's a picture book. It's literally like some pamphlet, and it's titled Populist Conservatism and Constitutional Order. And she's like, what is this thing?
So it wasn't like a happy birthday, hey, come here in
No.
years or whatever.
It's not like our church sends her a happy birthday note.
Yeah.
That's not what this was. It was literally something that I would be like, all right, I got to sit down for a half hour and read this kind of a thing.
Right?
It was wild. But I give them credit because they're recruiting them young. Oh, man. So if you want to see that, I popped that up on Instagram at Pete Mundo. It's pretty funny on my Instagram stories. So yesterday, to piggyback off what O'Reilly was saying, there was clear enthusiasm on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange where Donald Trump was ringing the opening bell. But there was one comment in particular that stood out to me that I don't think Trump will get any credit for. No one will really talk about. No one will say maybe he's actually a slightly different guy. But you know Jim Cramer. Maybe you don't. He's the goofy guy on MSNBC, or CNBC, the Mad Money guy. Bye. He's been doing that show for 20, 25 years. Bald guy. He's a staple there on CNBC. In the mornings, he's got his own show that comes on at, 5 o'clock at night after the markets close. And people, it's like a call-in show. It's like old school talk radio where Bob in Kansas City calls in and say, hey, Cramer, what do you think about my Apple stock? And then he'll give you a recommendation. Now, there's a running joke that Cramer's actually awful at picking stocks, but it's entertainment. Let's be clear on what it is. It's entertainment. That's why the show succeeds. Not because he's a great stock picker, but because he's entertaining. That's the secret to most shows, by the way. I'm doing my Biden whisper here. The secret to most shows, TV, radio, it's not about whether or not your picks are great. Heck, I'm the guy that did a dopey naked lap around this place after an awful pick in 2022. saying Sharice Davids wouldn't win by 10 points. She won by 13. It really doesn't matter how good your picks are. I always see people rag on sports guys. He stinks at picking games. It doesn't matter. Is he entertaining? The Dave Ramsey Show works because Dave is entertaining. So with that, here was Donald Trump yesterday on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange talking to Jim Cramer and saying something that, you know what, is worth playing back to you.
Come on over here.
All right.
Come on over here, Kramer.
Come on over here, Kramer. That was my favorite part.
Where's Kramer?
Where is he? Where's Kramer? Come on over here, Kramer.
Come on over here.
All right.
Come on over here, Kramer.
Here we go.
Absolutely. What do you have to say to the American investor in this country?
Well, I think you're going to see some very good days ahead. A lot of incentives are going to be given. You saw yesterday a $1 billion investment that we give you very fast approvals. Nobody's come up with that one yet, although it seems pretty simple. I think you're going to have some great days ahead. We have to conclude a couple of bad wars that are going on. A lot of bad things are going on, but we'll get them done.
Do you think that we are in a situation where business will be far more embraced under you than currently?
Well, I don't want to really knock current, but I will tell you more than at any time, anywhere in the history of our country.
Well, I don't really want to knock current, he says. Current being Joe Biden. The old Trump wouldn't have done that. The old Trump would have said something there that would have been a turn of a phrase that would have knocked Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They were the worst ever. He just said, I don't want to knock current. I'm looking forward. For a media that insists that Donald Trump is obsessed with looking backwards, that right there, coming from the horse's mouth, tells me that that's not the case. Now, there might be moments, because he's a human being, where he looks backwards, but Kramer put it on a T form there to basically say Joe Biden's the worst president in American business history. He was awful for business. We are going to turn things around. Trump goes, I don't want to knock the current guy. I'm just looking ahead. And we're going to do a great job. And we're going to be, in classic Trumpian fashion, the best for business that there's ever been in the history of the country. Now, of course, that's what Trump does. We're the best. I'm the best. It's going to be the greatest this, the greatest that. But he had a chance to just crush Biden once again, and he didn't take it. It's like, I'm not here to do that. I won. And that's why maybe, just maybe, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Maybe the old dog wants to learn new tricks. That's possible, is it not? That was my takeaway as I heard Donald Trump in that clip right there. This guy, I'm not saying he's changed in the sense of he's not going to continue to, see things on cable news that annoy him and then go and blast the person on his Truth Social. Trust me, those days are going to come. But maybe he has softened with age as he gets towards 80. Maybe he has been like, every battle's not worth fighting. That's what I hear in that clip with Jim Cramer on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange yesterday. So we always talk about some of the drama happening with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, but I wanted to let you in on this. I talked to somebody yesterday about it, and I was just blown away, especially with everything their founder is dealing with right now. So the KCK Police Department, which obviously is dealing with the fallout from the Roger Golubsky case, the former detective alleged to have been terrorizing women in urban parts of KCK for years, who, of course, killed himself last Monday morning, the day that his trial began. There are investigations and requests coming from Rock Nation. That is Jay-Z's outlet. Believe it or not. Yes, Jay-Z's Rock Nation is, and I'm looking at it right here, Team Rock and Midwest Innocent Project files new lawsuit against the KCK Police Department and Unified Government. Mm-hmm. It's on their website, weareteamrock.com. And I'm thinking to myself, it says read the full lawsuit at kckcorruption.info. You'd think that, in the wake of what Jay-Z's dealing with here this week, where there are allegations of sexual misconduct with 13-year-olds alongside Diddy, You'd think they'd maybe take a back seat and going after the KCK Police Department, but I guess when you have no ability to have self-awareness, this is what you get. John?
They had filed something previously. I don't know. Was this a new one you were saying, and based on or since the death of Golubsky?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. They are going after it hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I thought they were involved, and then I saw the headline about him and the Diddy thing. I thought, oh, that ought to go away.
Yeah.
But apparently not.
Nope. It's right on their website. They're still bragging about it. Apparently, it's like, wow. No self-awareness there from Rock Nation.